Good morning. We're so glad that you're here. We're thrilled to be on the campus of North Charleston Elementary School, where so many wonderful things are going on for students and this community. We are pleased to welcome here Mr. Kyle Smiles. Kyle was a member of our family for about 15 years, left us to go to Colleton County, and then has returned here to the campus of North Charleston Elementary to lead exceptional work. Celebrating the Ron Clark House System here. We have an exceptional family community engagement here. She's right here. Service advocate, Ms. Tyra Johnson, working very closely with our community. And together, this wonderful team, many of whom are behind me, are thinking creatively about ways to serve children, using their weighted student funding to make sure that we serve children well. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Smalls, let him tell you a little bit about the work here at North Charleston Elementary School, and then we'll talk about another component of what's going on here at North Charleston Elementary School, which is our employee daycare program. Yes. Mr. Smalls.
All right, great segue. So here in North Charleston, we've been really creative with how we use our weighted student formula funds to get the assistance that we need in regards to human capital. As the superintendent mentioned, one of the human capitals that we've been able to utilize with our weighted student formula is Ms. Tyra Johnson, our community engagement officer, just making sure that our community members, our parents, have all of the resources that they need, but also within that, encouraging them to bring their children to school each and every day. Part of the scope of her work is to bring down our chronic absenteeism rate, again, so that children can be here, because when they're not here at school, they're not learning. Also, with the weighted student formula, we've been really creative with providing targeted intervention for our students through that human capital that I just spoke about. And not just our students that are at the lowest percentiles, but also some of our high achieving students qualify for intervention and additional support to continue to move that needle. The superintendent also mentioned we are a Ron Clark school in regards to us using the houses, and every staff member, every teacher, every child belongs to a house, and within that they work toward these 6 character traits: being kind, being courageous, being persistent, being responsible, all of those things. And within that they earn points, and we have celebrations. Also within that, they are motivated, intrinsically to do what's right and to demonstrate those things. So that's just a taste of some of the great things happening here at North Charleston, and we are super excited to see the growth that we continue to make here.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Smalls.
you.
And we're really glad to have you back as part of the CCSD family.
Glad to be
and
back.
We're hearing great things about your leadership.
Thank you.
What's trademark here to North Charleston Elementary School, in addition to 3 other schools across the district, we've talked to you about it before, is our employee daycare program. We're proud to be a district leading the state in that effort, and I want to thank Kim Foxworth, who has valiantly led that effort alongside many of her team members. Beth McCraw is here today to talk a little bit more about the work. We have an employee daycare center here, one at Laurel Hill Primary as well, one additionally at the down on the peninsula, at Charleston Progressive, and we have a 3- and 4-year-old program over in West Ashley. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Foxworth to come up now, talk to you a little bit about the employee daycare process, how we go about staffing those sites, and how we believe we are serving teachers and employees well by offering the opportunity to bring their children here to be part of the CCSD family. So Kim, thank you for your leadership.
Well, I just want to start by saying in 2021, Charleston County launched its first employee childcare, as Superintendent Huggins said, at Charleston Progressive. It was led by the District 20 Principal Collaborative, and I do want to make sure we highlight them, because without their forward thinking and their work, we wouldn't be here today. So I do want to make sure we shout out that group of principals. Number one, we work really hard across our district to provide high quality learning environments for young children, and so we wouldn't do anything less for our employees. And so we do have 4 centers. 3 of them are employee-based. All of them are employee-based. 3 of them we do charge tuition. And what we do is we have an infant program and a toddler program. And here is North Charleston is one of our locations. The employees can apply through an application, an online application. Because we have more interest than we do spots, we do a random lottery based on the location of the employee's work location. So here at North Charleston, we look at how the schools in this close perimeter, we're near the Park Circle area, they get first priority, and then we go farther out from there. As we continue to expand the program, we will have more opportunities for more employees. Our centers at Laurel Hill, CPA, Charleston Progressive Academy, and thank you, West Ashley High School, all only have employees' children, and so it's very, very exciting. This is our second year at North Charleston, and it was interesting because 2 years ago, there's a group of teachers at North Charleston High School that were also interested in having an employee childcare. And at the same time, our district had a teacher task force. So the two forces kind of came together to get this initiative started. And so without hearing more from me, we want you to hear from a parent and a leader in the program, Miss Ariane Rollerson. She is actually was a teacher 2 years ago at North Charleston High School, and she was on the, her and her colleagues at North Charleston High School had the idea to do a Cougar Care Center. But then we were also, as a district, looking at employee child care. So the two came together here at North Charleston, and her child has been here ever since. So I'm going to have Ms. Rollerson, because that's who you really want to hear from, an employee who actually has her child here, about what benefits the program has had for her.
Hello. So I had the idea because when I returned to work after 5 months of maternity leave, I was realizing that although I loved the child care center that my son was attending, I was backtracking, leaving my residence in North Charleston, going to Somerville, passing home, coming to work. So my then principal, Mr. Darby, and I sat down and talked, and he connected me with Ms. Foxworth. I had everything aligned with the proposal, the need, the why. At the time, we were thinking like maybe we could put it in North Charleston High School, but with Ms. Foxworth, again, in the district, it did work out to where we were able to house it here at North Charleston Elementary School. As a teacher and a parent, I feel very blessed to be able to say that my son is here. The teachers in those classrooms, we're like a family. Like there's the app that we use, and the former director, Ms. Simmons, the new director, Ms. Kay, the teachers, Ms. Nona, Ms. Jess, everyone just takes very good care of our children. And so it's nothing like being able to have a peace of mind at work, knowing that your child is being well taken care of. It's affordable. I like it. I hope that, maybe many more spots will open up, for other teachers to gain this same experience, and even maybe one day for students to be able to, who have teen pregnancy, to maybe one day incorporate their children so that they're not missing class time and instruction time. But I'm so grateful for it, and here we are.
And so I'll just end my comments by saying that we staff each classroom with 2 lead infant toddler teachers. We have a site director at each site, and then we also have a floater that goes in between. And that's kind of our model. And what we're looking for is really teachers who are nurturing. I think you heard from Ms. Rollerson is that's what environment has been created here, is nurturing environment. We want our teachers, when they go back to their classrooms and they lead their students, to feel comfortable that their child is in good care. And so we feel like we are, although we are still new, I think we've got a good foundation for us to continue to follow in the years to come in future sites. Thank you.
We are grateful for this opportunity. As we shared last night with our board, we do plan to expand employee daycare to another region of Charleston County next year out on Johns Island at Angel Oak Primary. We're really excited about the opportunity to do that. It's important for the public to know, though, that this is in high demand. We have waiting lists in all of the facilities that currently exist across the district, so we're glad that our employees are able to take advantage of this, that it does give them peace of mind, as Ms. Rollerson suggested, and that it does adequately prepare students for the kindergarten, which is our goal, to get kids ready. Universal pre-K is really important to us here in Charleston County. We believe in it, and we're doing all that we can to make as many opportunities available as possible. Something else we highlighted here at North Charleston Elementary is the Ron Clark House system. If you don't know about Ron Clark Mania, it's all about encouraging students, exciting students around a competitive process, engaging them in ways to take responsibility for their own behavior behavior and to be responsible learners. And part of that, again, is meeting expectations for behavior. We have a lot of scholars across the Charleston County School District who are doing just that. I'm going to ask Dr. Shavonna Coakley, who's our Associate Superintendent for the Department of Student Support, to come up and talk about how we're starting the year off with student behavior. Dr. Coakley.
Yes, thank you so much. So we are constantly talking about be here, be great when we talk about boots to the ground action and what we do for students. And that's about the attendance. But the attendance also involves making sure we can have students in school and students are feeling safe. So I'm constantly watching the data, whether it's attendance data or discipline data. Today we want to share some great news around our attendance. So we have a little over 50,000 students in our district, and I can happily report that as of today, 47,928 of our scholars have not received an office referral so far this school year. The big question that has been asked by several is, well, how are those phone violations going? I haven't shared the results with those standing behind me, but I will say out of 3,432 referrals that have been written, only 502 of those incidents belong to phone violations. So that's about 1/6 of all of the referrals. And even with the 502, that's not 502 students. That's the number of occurrences. So even less than 500 students have been cited for phone violations. What does this mean for our district? It means higher engagement, better outcomes for when we talk about students being focused, feeling safe in the school, not always having to run to those incidents where we talk about cyberbullying or intimidation or threats using those devices. And that's what we want to see when we talk about effective change within our schools. But I also want to give a shout out to our school administrators and our classroom teachers who have really taken the call to action to talk about how do we better engage our scholars, making sure that we're teaching bell to bell, assessing the needs of the students, whether it's academic or even their emotional health and well-being. And the current data shows that our building administrators and our teachers have really honed in on what our scholars need to make sure they feel successful, safe, and they feel good about school. So we definitely want to share that good news with you all today.
So you heard Dr. Coakley talk a little bit about behavior. She referenced attendance. We continue to prioritize attendance as we know that a critical component to improve student outcomes is students' attendance in schools. And as such, many of our principals have utilized their WSF, their weighted student funding monies to support improved attendance. And those WSF funds will also positively impact student outcomes, we know. As part of that process, we have implemented an outcomes-based contracting system so that our principals have access to high-quality programs to support student learning. I'm going to ask Mr. Prentice, our CFO, to come up now and talk a little bit about outcomes-based contracting and what this means to the district, and more importantly, what it has the potential to mean for our kids. Mr. Prentice.
Good morning, thank you. So last year, in the first year of weighted student funding, we heard a lot of requests from principals for tutoring. How do we contract with a tutoring company to provide services for our students? So we started thinking about how we could offer menu options for teachers and principals to be able to bring these services into their school as easily as possible. And we also started thinking about how to incentivize the vendors that we work with to ensure that the services that they're providing in schools are of quality nature. So we put out a request for proposals to bring in tutors, but not just to bring in tutors on a standard basis, to bring in tutors that are willing to work and provide pre- and post-assessment data and to incentivize their participation financially. So outcomes-based contracting means that a vendor can come into the school and they can provide services at an hourly rate per session, per student, but that if they don't see movement in terms of outcomes, they're not going to receive the full payment for that service. So if a tutor was providing services at $40 per student per session and they only saw nominal gains, they might only receive 50% of that payment at the end of the term that they were contracted, and we would evaluate that moving forward to determine maybe that vendor is not able to provide adequate services to the district so that we're not providing full compensation for poor outcomes. Conversely, if they provide significant achievement and see significant growth, they might receive up to 100 or 105% of the payment, in some circumstances receiving a bonus. So it has an opportunity for principals to really think about how they want to offer tutoring services and also ensure that if they're not getting value from those services, we're not paying full price for what we ultimately bring into our facilities.
Circling round back to last night's board meeting, last night our board did approve 2 student members to the Health Advisory Committee. The first group, led by Mrs. Simmons and members of her team, our Chief Academic Officer, will meet this Thursday. Those meetings are open to the public. The board also passed in second reading Policy FF last night, which allows schools to be named for deceased persons, preferably geographical regions. That's actually the language in the policy. We're also really excited about 100% of our schools being staffed on Monday for Principal for a Day. We hope each of you will join us in our schools as we celebrate the great partnerships that we're blessed with here in the Charleston County School District. So with that, tonight we have a town hall at St. James Santee. You're welcome to attend that as well. Again, we want to engage with our community as often as we can. With that, we'll open it up for questions. And Valerie, we'll start with you.
Most of my questions are about that.
That's wonderful. We'll let Mr. Prentice come right on back up. Come on, Mr. Prentice. Have at it, Mr. Prentice.
All right.
Basically, my first question is, where did the idea was it from the principals who were asking about this so much, and that's why you guys decided to do it?
So multiple pieces. We saw a lot of requests for tutoring, and we wanted to try to make it easier for schools, so they didn't have to go through their own procurement process. Essentially, here's a menu of services that you can pick from. We'll get a requisition in there for you so that you can contract with them without having to go through that whole process, meaning we can save time and deliver services faster. But then we were also talking with Dr. Rosa with the Economics Lab and our thought work around academic ROI, and thought, if we're bringing people in and they're offering services, but we don't really know the value of the service in terms of them moving the needle, how can we really be sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck, so to speak, with those services coming into the schools? And there's this whole concept of outcomes-based contracting. So we sent a couple of our staff members to formal training, and tutoring was kind of the biggest ask from schools in terms of the first pilot. But there's going to be other contracting initiatives that we pursue where currently we may be contracting and say we provide this amount for this service, and in the future it'll be we provide this amount for this service if you achieve this gain. Yep.
Has the district tried a program like this before, or is this the first time?
This is, to my awareness, this is the first time we've done anything like this. Last year we did try it on a pilot basis, I would say a very limited pilot basis with 2 vendors, but when we started floating the idea, some contractors, to be unnamed, we're not interested in doing that. And it was, well, if you're not interested in doing that, are you really, do you believe in the services that you're providing to us? Because if you think that you can move the needle for kids, you should want to be able to, participate in that and potentially get even more compensation if you're really doing a good job. Interestingly, when we put the RFP out, we had 18 vendors that were qualified in the response. So we now have a huge pool of eligible vendors that are participating under those terms.
Can you name a couple of the vendors?
I can give them to you. I've got a whole list. I'll give you the sheet with everybody's information on it. But generally speaking, the services on average are between $30 and $40 per session per student.
Obviously, there's a new school board on this island. I was wondering, do you have any comments on how's traffic going so far?
That's a great question, and for that, I'll defer to Mr. Barowie, the Chief Operating Officer.
I can actually come up with good news?
That's,
Joy, thank you for the
that's fantastic. We're glad you came here today.
Yeah, thanks for the good question. So I would say that traffic has gone swimmingly out at Johns Island. Not that we're in the water, but I will tell you that I did have the opportunity to go to a town hall a couple of weeks ago, and the comments were all positive from the residents that were there. Councilman McBride from the area commented that comparing the first week of traffic this year to the first week of traffic last school year, there was actually an improvement on Johns Island. I'd like to think that part of that was attributed to the location we chose for the school, which is in the heart of where most of our students live, and the fact that we've made road improvements, including the roundabout on River Road and the turn lanes on River Road in Brownswood, that have allowed traffic to improve not only for the school day, but really 24/7, around the clock. Those residents have the opportunity to take advantage of those improvements and keep traffic flowing smoothly out there. Yep.
Okay, back to tutors.
Okay, Rob.
Can we talk about how does the county know what age children need the most tutoring? And tutors are expensive, right? That's
why poor families can't afford them, that's why this is, an exciting thing. What age children need the tutors, and what is needed? Is it mathematics, reading, English, speech, the whole rainbow of different tutoring, or is it really reading, or is it really math?
It's a great question, Robert, and those are great pink Crocs too, by the way. To be very honest, we value early intervention. Ms. Simmons is, Dr. Clamp are here. Come right on up here. Ms. Simmons, Dr. Clamp. We really believe in early intervention. And so we know that post-COVID, we had some success, particularly in some of our high schools, Robert, like Burke, like Stahl, that piloted through Saga high dosage tutoring. But we believe that many of our elementary schools will utilize this to close the readiness gap at early ages and in all areas, but particularly in reading, acknowledging that students need those foundational skills and those skills build on each other, and math. Mrs. Simmons, I don't know if you or Dr. Clamp would have anything to offer about high dosage tutoring or your experience therein.
So we had a few schools that piloted the high dosage tutoring. We were fortunate to be a part of a grant process with the State Department of Education in mathematics. And so we targeted schools that had shown the opportunity for growth specifically in mathematics, specifically at middle school level. Morningside Middle School was an example, and at Hersey, we also had students that got experience in high dosage tutoring during the school day, several days per week. This summer, we extended that at Hersey, for example, our Montessori school here in North Charleston, to a summer mathematics tutoring experience that also brought in 4th and 5th graders. So our vendors are encouraging us to consider and to pay close attention to mathematics tutoring at the early grades, to build those foundations as they matriculate up and add in more sophisticated mathematics skills. So we're excited to continue that partnership, especially to use the vendors now that are serious about the outcomes that will be generated from the exposure.
So in 2nd and 3rd grade, kids start to get their mathematics problems as written and reading and so on and so forth, but they can't read, then they're really hurting to understand mathematics problems that are now formulated as English. Take a minute to talk about that.
Well, so specifically literacy is our foundation of learning, and so we have experienced some growth in literacy this year. Our teachers began to expose students to a new curriculum last year at the elementary level, CKLA. They become so much more sophisticated in that implementation this year. So absolutely, in your response, we do believe in that foundation of literacy. So students that show the most growth to gain, they're going to receive intervention within the school system to include and complement the implemented curriculum so that we can build that foundation. They can apply it to other skills, not just mathematics, social studies and science as well.
Well, and Robert, if I may, Ms. Simmons, if you'll stay just a minute, I think it's important to note that high dosage tutoring isn't, is only one strategy that we consider and that we implement as we believe it's appropriate. And we believe that our principals know what's best in the schools as supported by the teachers and those who work alongside them, as best, evident here at North Charleston Elementary, which has shown significant progress, over the course of the last couple of years, particularly in early literacy. But also, if you were able to tune into the Committee of the Whole, you heard Ms. Simmons talk a little bit about our summer reading programs and some of the things that we also do for students who, particularly at grade 3, are behind. And so, Ms. Simmons, I wonder if you just give a quick overview of our scholars in the summer reading program last summer.
Sure. So to Superintendent Huggins and Dr. Clamp's comments on how much we value and believe in the power of early intervention, the summer school effort around reading camps and Read to Succeed legislation is just that. We feel like if we do a solid job, a robust job at the elementary grades of closing the existing gaps, then by the time our scholars matriculate to middle and high schools, we've mitigated a lot of that risk. And so a couple of weeks ago, our superintendent shared an article by the Wall Street Journal speaking just about this idea of early intervention as well as extended learning opportunities. So that's what we offer when we provide summer reading camps, an opportunity for scholars to have more more additional enhanced instruction in both reading and math to close those significant gaps that exist. A lot of times when our scholars come to grade school, that's the work of Kim Foxworth and our early learning team. That's the work of our curriculum and instruction team, and everybody really at the table. We're all focused on closing these gaps that exist. Thank you.
So you see how all that pieces together. It's a great question, Robert, again, between the early childhood, universal pre-K, the science of reading, the need for early intervention, and then when kids aren't on grade level, the other opportunities to support through things like high dosage tutoring. Really, all those things work together, and the teacher just has to be masterful at how he or she looks at each child individually to determine what specifically that child needs to ensure that we're scaffolding and supporting their growth and achievement. And sometimes their catch-up, Robert. Great question.
Thank you, ma'am. I had a question about the childcare.
Wonderful, Kim.
Yes.
I was wondering how many children total you guys are able to accept?
Sure.
And I know you talked about geography, the closest to the schools, but
Yes.
are there other qualifications, or is there anything like maybe an income need maybe will come first?
No, first of all, this is for our employees, and so you have to work for CCSD. We do prioritize for school-based employees, and that's why we look at where your school location is. In total at the 4 centers, we serve about 75 children, because if you know anything about child care ratios, they're infants, you can't have more than 10 is the absolute maximum with 2 adults. And so we have to keep, for the safety of the children and providing the high quality, we have to keep the ratios low. So we serve 75 total across all, including the 3- and 4-year-old program at West Ashley High School. We serve about 75 students, and we really prioritize for school-based employees, and then our prioritization groups go out from there. All employees can apply. We do not stop anybody from applying, but when we do the random lottery, we do it by the prioritization groups based on where your work location is and the location of the center.
When you talk about possibly expanding soon, are you looking at maybe bringing it to 100, 125, or doubling it? What's that process going to be like?
So as Superintendent Huggins mentioned, our next step is we're looking at expanding at Angelo so we can meet the Johns Island teaching community's needs. And so that would probably be another 25 children. It all depends on the age of the children, but about 25 more children.
So that's great, Kim. This is costly to do. It's important to note that employees do pay a modest fee every week for the daycare. And our goal is really to expand to every constituent area before we start adding classes, although there is high demand for us to add classes, and Mr. Prentice and COO Baroe have already priced out what it would take to do just that. We are limited, of course, by space, and so we've expanded to schools and in places where classrooms currently exist. So we do hope, again, to expand out to Johns Island at Angel Oak Primary next year, and dependent upon budget priorities, we may be able to add an infant class at some of our other sites, but we'll just have to wait and see how all those priorities shake out as we look at the growth of children from fall to spring in MAP and what we need as we think about student achievement. Great question. Valerie, you need Mr. Prentice back? That's what I thought. Mr. Prentice, come right on up. Although I'm happy to talk about it if needed.
Go right ahead.
This question is about how will you guys measure academic growth to make sure that the students.
Do you know the answer to that?
So I can touch some of that. It's somewhat principal discretion in terms of their WSF plan. And I'll give you the sheet that describes it, but iReady, end of course, and also just natural growth based on pre and post assessment data. So there's some different selective elements that they can choose, and of course if it's reading versus math, looking at some different things there. But the principal would have to select the strategy using their WSF, put together the SMART goal, the pre and post assessment metrics and everything that they wanted to track, and then we would bring the vendor on and make sure that they understood the rules of engagement based on the contract that we set with them. Yep.
That is a very sophisticated answer, a lot more sophisticated than I'll give Valerie. I apologize for that in advance. My boss always does a lot better than I do. But I will say that, you know, everything that Daniel said is spot on, but we're looking at growth from fall to winter to spring, informative assessments like iReady, MAP, and benchmarks as he referenced. And then there'll also be, as we look at ROI and what's really making a difference for kids, how student achievement improves on summative tests in the spring or on end of course at the end of the first and second semester in high schools respectively, in regards to the ROI. So we're going to watch with growth all year, but then there will be an assessment of how much those students actually grew into proficiency at the end of the year. So we'll calculate that in some sophisticated number algorithm way that I don't do, but other smart people behind me really do, to figure out what positively impacted growth, what positively impacted achievement, as we look at what vendors, if any, we should maintain as we move forward.
And then I have one more question.
Great.
We said that there would be options for in-person and virtual, so who qualifies for?
Great question. Mr. Prentice?
So what qualifies for in-person versus virtual? So each vendor set up a little bit differently. Some are in-person only and some are virtual only. You know, some offer different technological platforms as part of their package. And so the principal can choose that really based on the unique needs of their school. It was just that the RFP was put out in a way that in-person and virtual were the options. Some of them offer both and have tiered pricing for both options.
And Valerie, and those of you watching, however you're watching, it's really important for parents to know that this isn't to take the place of the classroom teacher, that the classroom teacher identifies needs of students and works with the principal to get the supports that students need. And the district is just the conduit through which that happens. Like our job at the central level, my job, Daniel's job, Jeff's job, Bill's job, Michelle's, our job are to remove barriers that teachers and principals need removed to help kids. That's what our work's about, and this is one such barrier that centrally we've tried to remove all the red tape, figure out who's the best at this, and say, hey, come on board with us and show us what you got. And if, when you're performing at high levels, you'll be compensated accordingly.
Okay, absenteeism, asking from a place of ignorance, how widespread is the absenteeism? You can save them if you get them here to the school. If they don't come to school, you can't help. Is it hopelessness and despair, poverty? How do you combat that? Is that carrot and stick? How do you fix that?
That's it. It's really challenging to fix, Robert, and no district across the nation has really established a gold standard for it, but I think we're getting close here. Dr. Coakley, you want to come up and talk about it?
Thank you for the question. So you said some really good characteristics of hopelessness, despair. We also think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, parents who are working, students who miss the bus, parents don't have transportation.
Let me interrupt just a minute. Can you yank that mic right there and yank it all the way down?
Because I'm so short.
Well, we
Yes.
hear it, but
Okay.
it's in your face.
Thank you so much. But we think about exactly what is it that our families need, and then we try to provide those supports as best as possible. So when our families are looking at issues with chronic absenteeism, at the school level, we do what we call an attendance intervention plan, where they sit down with those families, talk about what's currently going on, how can we support as a school district, but also what can the parents do to provide that additional support. Our district has been so fortunate to actually employ TIs, which is truancy interventionists, that go out to the homes, work with the families, knock on those doors. We have prevention and intervention facilitators who assist. You have wonderful people here that Ms. Hara, we talk about community engagement and hosting events within the community to really educate families on the importance of school. And if a brick and mortar is not going to be where that child attends, then we have other options within CCSD, like our virtual program for our families that we can really look at trying to support. But sitting at home is definitely not the option for our families. And so for families, regardless of what we do to provide that assistance, the student is still at home or not being consistent with that educational platform, whichever is chosen, then we do have to move forward looking at additional services and getting assistance from our community agencies and providers who then step in to partner with us in getting that support.
And Robert, Dr. Coakley, that was brilliant. As always, I'm going to ask Ms. Tyra to come up, because this is some of the work that Tyra, Robert, leads here at North Charleston Elementary School. She's bought alarm clocks, for example, and handed them out to families because a root cause of truancy here was people oversleeping. And then mom and daddy leave, granny leaves, goes to work, and kids have missed the bus. And so in some areas, we have sent the bus around for a second time, for example, to get children on the second bus route. But I wonder, Tyra, and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay.
If you could talk a little bit about some of the things you've done
Okay.
here in collaboration with Dr. Coakley
Okay.
and other teams to reach out to families to support attendance.
Yes, thank you. Just like Superintendent Huggins said, last year I did start an initiative of alarm clocks and blankets because our families sometimes they do oversleep. And I do know that we got so many alarm clocks to every school in CCSD through community partners, through our senators, through our parents, just everybody poured into what we had going on here at our schools, not just at North Charleston Elementary, but the district in a whole. And I know as a parent myself, I leave home before my kids do. So if they don't set their alarms, they're going to be late for school. And then I'll get a truancy meeting. And I can't do that if I'm the person representing truancy. But come back tomorrow because we do have coffee with the principal, and that's actually our truancy meeting for our families. And we host one big meeting with all of our families to actually show them the steps that they can take. And if they need support, call us. We'll come and get the children or them. Yes. Thank you.
Tyra and other support folks like Tyra actually plan meaningful engagement opportunities here at the school to make the school an environment where folks want to attend. And that's one of the big perks of coming to schools where systems like Ron Clark are in place. Kids are excited about coming to school. So one of the primary ways to combat truancy and absenteeism is to make our schools places that students actually want to attend. And that's where we've seen a real transformation here at North Charleston Elementary over the course of the last few years. We hope you'll take a walk through the halls and look and see all they've done to really engage and immerse students in the Ron Clark Academy process. Well, we thank you for being here today. I thank staff too. Thanks so much, North Charleston Elementary.